Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Just want to make sure that we are... Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Just want to make sure that we are... Good evening, everybody. How's it... Sounding all right. I think there might have been a bit of an echo there for a moment. Apologize. But we are glad to have everybody here. I hope everybody's enjoying the new emotes because we had uploaded those on Monday evening, but unfortunately because we didn't understand that their Twitch had to make sure that the emotes and GIFs were not didn't violate any sort of terms of agreement or content. Thank you, Abominable Snowball, for the... we got a Hype Trainman coming, so let's go ahead and begin the story time portion of the evening, which involves me telling a story. If you're just tuning in, if you're just joining EGI2 for the first time, every time that a Hype Train starts, I have to tell a story for the length of the Hype Train, and there are all new Hype Train emotes, so there's a good chance that there's going to be a bit of a long story this evening. But let's and then we'll get to Geist later on. But first off and second of all, thank you for D3 Tail just gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you for that, and glad to have everybody here for this story, which involves, as normal, a trip to the past, a trip into the folklore, and then to the into the folklore, into these morality tales of the way that things how things got to be where they are. And Robbie, don't forget the headquarters background. Oh, thank you for that. So if you can imagine that back before the settlers came to this country, which is of course the United States of America, there was a great deal of empty area, a great deal of a great void, if you will, and so the void had to be filled at some point with. But before even there was people here before the Europeans came here, and then there was supposedly, this is where things get a little tricky, because supposedly there were people here before that, and those settlers made those were the folks that came over from the Great Land Bridge, of course, that bridged between what is now Russia and what is now Alaska. And before they could, so before them, there was already, what I'm trying to say is that there's already people here. Those people, of course, were the fate of those people will be revealed this evening live here on EGI2's story. Robbie telling the story. And so, what were those people called? Those people were called those people. They didn't refer to themselves as people. They referred to themselves as the guy. And this goes back to no. What these are not what we. Someone in the chat is saying indigenous people, but what I'm trying to say is that before we had what we refer to normally as indigenous people in our lexicon, there were other people that were that are now the ghosts that float around us and do things like knock books off of bookshelves and smash light bulbs with their hand, because they can do the thing, or they can make their hands solid for a second. So those people are those former people are now spirits that live amongst us, and this is part of their story. And it all goes back to the kids, of course. The kids are the future. The kids are also, it's we're in this culture, in the previous culture, in the culture before the sort of First Nations cultures and the indigenous people of North America. These people had a special name, and that name was the Allan. These were all people that were called they were just called the X-Men, which was really odd, because obviously we later on became acquainted with a different group of the X-Men. But the people that came before, again, these are the people that came before what we now refer to as indigenous people of North America, First Nations. They were just also called X-Men, but not to be confused with the Marvel's X-Men. It was just a different X-Men. There was no hyphen. It was just X-Men, one word. there, and within the X-Men community, there was a person, a young girl named Shadowcat, and again, not the same Shadowcat as is from the X-Men comic books, TV series, movies, what have you. But in fact, it was a different young girl named Shadowcat. She couldn't phase through walls. She didn't love and was occasionally rebuffed by a man named Colossus. It was just a different person. But Shadowcat, her responsibility in this community, in the X-Men community, was to kill a special bird every morning. And the special bird was kind of like what we see in mythology as the phoenix bird, but it was a much larger bird. It was about the size of, if you can imagine like a regular 13-year-old, then it was probably about the size of a 13-year-old that you might see at the mall skateboarding around, maybe going behind the building and smoking the cigarettes. And that person was, and that was the size, that bird was the size of one of those people. So, and she had to kill this same bird, and it was the same bird that she killed every morning. So she would kill the bird, she would cut the blood, the blood would come out, and it would spill into these channels that ran sort of behind her house, and she lived on a big hill looking above the city in which she lived, which was a very advanced city. It was a very advanced city that if we were to see that city now, it's sort of, if you can go back to the years, the year that we saw, it's sort of like if you could combine Wakanda and also the city, the capital city of Gondor. If anybody can remember the name of the capital city of Gondor from Lord of the Rings, would really love to know that. Thank you for Advanced. Oh yeah, that was the name of the city. Rattleman is correct. It was called Advanced City. So this is the X-Men people had Gondor is the name of the capital city. So Advanced City was kind of like a mix between Gondor and the capital city of Wakanda, which I also don't remember, because Wakanda's the country, is it called Wakanda City? Whatever. Or is Advanced City is the name of the capital of Wakanda? Anyway, despite all of their Minas Tirith, Gondor, Joe Botnick says Minas Tirith, and that's correct. But Wakanda, is it Wakanda? Kansas City, Wakanda. A lot of people with a lot of differing opinions over what things were called, but what we do know is that in this previous epoch, before the folks that came from the Eurasian continent crossed the land bridge into what is now North America, there was an entirely different group of people called the X-Men. They lived in a very futuristic yet medieval-looking city called Advanced City. And at the top of the city lived a little girl named Shadowcat who had to kill the same bird over and over every day because they believed if the bird was not killed, then the city would be bombed it would be bombed by the airplane people. So the airplane people, of course, were the X-Men's worst enemies because they were always flying over the city and dropping bombs near the city. And again, I will say, EGI2 watcher, Kitty Pryde is not actually the little girl in the story is not actually Kitty Pryde. It's just Shadowcat. So she's a different Shadowcat. It's a different character, and and it was believed that the smell of the blood from the bird would scare away all of the airplane people. And the airplane people had these big, giant flying machines, and they would have these big bombs that looked like, they looked like skulls. So the bombs looked like skulls, and they were terrifying. They screamed like people when they fell out of the airplanes, and they dropped the bombs all over the area around the city, which is kind of a no man's land. So the city, Advanced City, was of course very, 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 very self-sufficient, so they didn't need to do any farming. They didn't have to travel out of the Advanced City at all. The X-Men just stayed right where they were in their very, very, very precarious situation, and with the understanding that blood from this one teenager-sized bird would keep them safe for as long as the as long as possible. So and Shadowcat, of course, being the person that was would kill the bird every morning to make the blood run into and there was a big cistern. There was a lot of blood in this bird. Let's say so. There was this teenager-sized bird. There's a lot of blood in it. So the blood would run into this big cistern, and it was a sort of on the long but it wasn't a cistern in the way that we would think that the wastewater cisterns, but beneath our own modern cities might operate. And this is in fact a kind of open air, almost like a reservoir of the blood, and it kept filling up and drying out, and of course because of the proteins in the blood, it would start to smell terribly, which is part of what I think we can all assume the thing that was part of what kept the airplane people from bombing the city. And when we talk about the airplane people, I just want to say that the airplane people were in fact airplanes. So not people that flew airplanes, not people that flew airplanes, not people that built airplanes. They were just people that were shaped like airplanes, and they dropped skulls. So that was the end of the skulls. I just want to say, even though the hype train has ended, so we will start the game review process over in just a moment. I just want to point out a couple facts that we might be able to come back to later on in the show, which is that the airplane people, the bombs were in fact their skulls. And similar, and they would drop the skulls onto Advanced City, terrorizing. They wouldn't get to the Advanced City because of the smell of the rotten blood, but the bombs that they would drop around the city were in fact their skulls, which they were able to regrow every time they dropped the skull bombs. And so the bird that Shadowcat would kill would also be resurrected at night. But that's how it worked, and so that was part of the story. Hopefully, we'll get to another part of the story later. Didn't really consider that people would be so excited by the new train emotes and gifts that they would want to hear a story so soon into the game review process. But there you go, and there you have it. We do have another story on the line. Let's say that the story is on the line, and if we want to resurrect the story in the way that the teenager bird was resurrected, then we would be then another hype train will resurrect the story, but that is up to you, the viewers of EGI, twitch.tv/EGI_2. But for now, let's get right into the video game review of the evening. This, of course, is a game that I believe a lot of us have considered to be one of the penultimate, not penultimate, because and Kitty Pryde. Well, EGI2 says it can never be the Phoenix because she's Jewish, which could be true. But I want to also point out that the Shadowcat in the story is not the Kitty Pryde Shadowcat from the X-Men comic books. This is actually just a different person named Shadowcat in a different society. Instead of in the X-Men, the society is the modern world, the world of normal regular humans who don't have powers, and then the X-Men are different people. But in fact, this is a sort of like if you called, it's basically if you just took the French and called them the X-Men. So thank you for the subs and the raids, and thank you for Mike Mega with a party of two. Great to see everybody from Mike Mega. Sorry, Mike Mega had a question about the Kitty Pryde situation. It's not Kitty Pryde. It is the person in the story is called Shadowcat, but it's not Kitty Pryde from the X-Men, and it's not the X-Men from the comic books. It's just a different group of people who came before the indigenous peoples of North America, who is also not that built a very advanced civilization, with their capital city being, of course, Advanced City. But that's the story. We're not talking about the story. We're talking about Geist on the Nintendo GameCube, which many people have heard me talk about before. We've given away a photocopy of the Geist box art cover, the Geist box cover, a black and white printout of the cover of Geist on our previous show, Electronic Game Information, on AdultSwim.com, which of course no longer exists. But Geist is a fan favorite. It's not a fan favorite. It's not enough. People don't talk about Geist enough, so we're going to talk about it tonight, and we're going to be introducing the game right now with a little we have it. We have the introduction. We're going to show the trailer for Geist and see what people are saying about Geist on the Nintendo GameCube.
Possessing before it possesses you. Geist, only for Nintendo GameCube, rated M for mature.
So I'm not sure what happened there. It seems like we got another trailer in case that one was a problem. So let's see about that right now. So those were two trailers for the trailer. We had one trailer that I didn't like, so I decided to do another trailer. So those were the two trailers that we had. We actually have a third trailer. So those were the trailers for Geist. We had a poll going on. This was a poll for chat's pre-review score for Geist is between 6.4 and 6.6. So not bad, not looking bad for Geist. If we are talking about a 6 to 7 range of scoring, then that's right there in the middle. Caller, you're on the air with EGI_2, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews, 5, Geist. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Cody from Florida, and then also I have my girlfriend watching. What's your name, girlfriend?
Hi, I'm Audrey.
Hi, Audrey. Audrey, nice to meet you. And it's Audrey. I'm guessing that you're also from Cape Coral.
I currently live in Cape Coral. I'm originally from Arkansas.
Arkansas. What part of Arkansas?
I'm from East Arkansas. It's Jonesboro. It's like 45 minutes from Memphis, Tennessee.
So right there in that West Memphis area.
Yes.
Terrifying bit of business that's been happening there the last few years. But we're here now. We're talking about Geist. What are your thoughts, Cody and Audrey?
So I never had a GameCube, but I had the PlayStation 2, and I played PsyOps.
Great.
PsyOps was like a very similar game, but it was cool. It was cool.
It's a cool game. PsyOps is a cool game. It's a party game. Party people love PsyOps.
You could do a lot more like telekinesis in that one than Geist. Geist, you could just possess guys, but in PsyOps, you could throw stuff around the room.
Absolutely. And of course, around the same time that PsyOps came out, there was another telekinesis-based game where you were running around in chambers and tunnels and sewers and hallways, throwing things around with your mind, using your hands, whipping people around, ragdoll physics, the whole 9 yards. And that game was called... I know. It's the SWAT team one. The SWAT
it's
team
like
one?
the paranormal SWAT...
Wait, are you talking about... Wait a minute. You're talking about the SWAT team one? Talking about the Clive Barker's Jericho?
I think Fear. No. Nathan Vegetable just said Fear. I was thinking of Fear.
No, it wasn't Fear. Fear was there was some. I guess if you could, the time slowing mechanic could be counted as some kind of telekinesis. But I believe that the game that we were looking for is Second Sight by the makers of the Time Splitter series, of course.
God damn it.
10th of the 10th says, when's Nintendo going to make a GameCube Mini? Audrey, Cody, what are your thoughts?
GameCube Mini? What could would they dare have Melee, Smash Brothers Melee on it? Would they dare?
I mean, if you're going to make we might as well just ask ourselves the question right now. What games would make it to the GameCube Mini? Because I would say Smash the second Smash Brothers game would be on there. Metroid Prime 1 and 2 probably. Super Mario Sunshine, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess.
Did you play any GameCube games?
Me?
I only played a GameCube game when I was a kid, and it was Smash Brothers. It was Mario and Sunshine Land, actually.
Mario and Sunshine Land.
I don't think that they're going to make it. I'm going to just go ahead and say it right now. I don't think that the GameCube Mini is anywhere on the horizon, no matter what. Tenth of the 10th.
Beautiful Joe. Nathan Vegetable says
Beautiful Joe. Yes, of course. If there were going to be one, Beautiful Joe, PN03 could be one of them. Lots of other 6 to 7 out of 10 games. But my thought,
Killer 7. I love Killer 7.
Killer 7. Well, Killer 7 to me has, even though it was originally on the GameCube, I will agree on that. But I will say that it doesn't quite have when I see Killer 7, which I do see a lot, I say to myself, I say to myself, Killer 7. I don't think GameCube Classic Killer 7. It sort of transcended the original platform.
Gauntlet Dark Legacy, according to Ambrose Kurum.
But Cody, we got to talk a little bit about Geist here. What are your thoughts about the trailers? What are you thinking going into the 6 to 7 out of 10 review game? What are you going to be looking for your final scores?
I want to possess like a guard. I want to possess a guard.
Okay. But in terms of, do you want to see, in terms of graphics, gameplay, and controls, sound, you want to see all of those elements?
I don't know what I'm expecting. Like, I guess I expect, like, I don't even know what to expect from a 6 or 7 out of 10
6
game.
to 7 out of 10 game, correct. Audrey, we haven't had a lot of couples call in before, so I'd like to get your thoughts on if you were to have the power to possess not only people but objects in order to scare other people or animals, in order to cause some sort of chemical reaction in their brains that allowed you to possess that person or animal, what would you do in that situation?
That is a very difficult question. If it is to solve a problem, I guess I would be all for it to possess some kind of object or person.
Like a stapler?
Like a stapler, yeah.
What?
Well, so I think of Arkansas. When I think of Arkansas, I mean, obviously, the eastern Arkansas area isn't quite the Ozarks, but I do think of a lot of trees. I think of overpasses. I think of highway overpasses going over gullies and ravines.
It is a lot of that. The Ozarks are more West Arkansas. West Arkansas is more pretty and hilly and more Ozark. I'm from East Arkansas, so it's more like cotton fields and cornfields and things like that.
Well, we don't we've talked about cotton fields on the stream before as something that it just kind of creeps you out to drive by in the day or the night. But if I were to suggest to you something, Audrey, I would say, what if you wanted to possess the person driving a car over a ditch? You would probably want to possess the bridge and shake the car.
Yeah, maybe the bridge.
Get them panicking, and then get in the head of that person, knock them out, take the car, drive to the Ozarks, have yourself a nice vacation and get yourself one of those big lakeside cabins. A lot cheaper to get a cabin up there than it is in the sort of Angeles National Forest, San Gabriel, Big Bear, Wrightwood areas around Los Angeles. That's what I would call. Yeah. That's what I would call a good value for money. But also, if you were possessing a different person, then you could potentially just use their credit card and get it all for free without having to pay a single dime out of your own pocket.
Yeah, that would be a good plan.
Using powers for personal gain.
Absolutely, which is not what we normally we don't normally condone that kind of thing on EGI2, but I think when it comes to talking about the game Geist on the Nintendo GameCube, then all bets are off. Thanks for your call, guys. Stay in love, never hurt each other, and keep your communication open and honest.
I love you, Robbie.
Good night.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Audrey. So we've talked to Audrey, talking to Audrey and Cody, and we'll before we take some more calls, we want to start talking a little bit about the aspects of Geist on the Nintendo GameCube, which of course involves the first scoring, the first metric. I guess I don't know if it's a metric. It's an element. It's an aspect, which is a story and writing. So story and writing is the first. Is it aspect? Is it aspect? Do we like aspect? Do we like element? Do we like feature? Feature. I like feature. Okay, so it's feature. So this is the first feature of the game that we want to talk about, which is story and writing. So let's take a look at some of the great story and writing, or some of, I guess it's up to you if it's great story or writing, that Geist for the Nintendo GameCube possesses. Get it?
I've attached the latest intel on the Volk's mission. As you already know, Tom Bryson has been working undercover at a Volk's weapons facility in a remote area of southern France. On the surface, it appears to be a normal lab site, but infrared telemetry suggests a massive underground complex. We have reason to believe that Volk's is potentially developing a chemical or biological agent there. That's where you come in. About 3 days ago, we received a garbled communication from Bryson. We cleaned it up as best as we could, and were able to make out the word virus and what sounds like the word demon. But the jury's still out on that one. Tom Bryson is a good man and always spoke highly of you, John. I know we can depend on you.
That's a good 2 minutes of pure Geist storytelling to chew on for a moment there. But just in case it didn't come clear through the story, the cutscene that we just watched together as a community watching twitch.tv/EGI_2, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 5 Geist, then I just want to go ahead and add this bit of a story documentation to the record before we get into it. The story of Geist centers around John Ramey, a government agent sent in to investigate a secret facility that the Volks Corporation, a company that is known for supplying terrorist cells around the world, currently utilizes in southern France. So we were talking about France earlier in regards to the... John is brought in because he specializes in biological and chemical warfare. Thomas Bryson, a personal friend of John's, is a secret agent deep undercover in the Volks Corporation. Bryson has recently relayed information about several high-priority projects that have been in development in said facility. However, after Ramey arrives, one of his teammates is possessed by a non-corporeal assassin, leading to his entire team being captured or killed, and John soon becomes the latest test subject. After John's soul is forcibly separated from his body, John is run through a testing simulation created by the Volks Corporation to brainwash him and make him into the best assassin possible. However, halfway through the training, after teaching him about his abilities, but before this is important, before brainwashing, a mysterious ghost, a little girl named Mimi, arrives and releases John into the Volks building, and our game begins there. So let's go to the calls and see what people are thinking about the... Let's go to the calls and see what people are saying about the story. If they're the story is speaking to them, if we're call. Ooh, we got one coming in right now. Let's caller. You're on the air with EGI. Caller, you're on the air with EGI_2, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 5. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Ed from New Jersey.
Ed from New Jersey, first time caller as far as I know.
I am long time watcher though.
Ed, what are your thoughts about the whole situation with John?
I liked in the cutscene how he had like that purple Game Boy with all like the peripherals attached onto it.
Sure.
It reminded me of my Game Boy. I had like all these peripherals for my Game Boy that like lit up the screen.
Oh yeah, he lit up the screen magnifier, his little booklight style things plug into the side there,
and like speakers that attached to it, so it made the game louder.
But
it was pretty sick.
Ed, in terms of the storyline, is it speaking to you right now? Do you feel like it's substantial? Do you think that the storyline, let's just put a number on it here, does it even exist?
Do I think the story exists?
For Geist?
Maybe.
Is that a hard maybe, or is that something that you need to ponder over? Because
I think it depends how they handle the little girl character.
The little girl named Mimi.
Yeah. You know, I feel like when it comes to like magical little girl characters, they could be pretty hit or miss, you know.
Well, I think someone mentioned the game Fear, which of course is first encounter assault recon for the Xbox and PC and several other platforms thereafter, also has a magical little girl character.
Was she cool? I didn't play Fear.
She's problematic.
That could be fun, though. You know, you gotta have problems, or there's no story.
Absolutely. What you're talking about here is an inciting incident when you see the little girl here, or maybe the inciting incident was the fact that you got trapped there in the first place, and and then they tried to brainwash you and turn you into a non-corporeal assassin.
That's a lot of problems. That might be too many problems.
Dreams lately in the chat says Fear and Hunger on Steam has a magical little girl. What's that mean?
The Fear and Hunger. That's that game that's like really. I think I'm thinking of the right game, but it's like a really gritty RPG.
It's a gritty RPG, so it's not related at all to First Encounter Assault Recon. It's just a RPG. Cable 2 is rating with a party of 7. Hello, everybody from Cable 2. We're talking about Geist on the Nintendo GameCube. We're questioning Dawn from New Jersey, the great Garden State itself, if Geist has a story.
Yeah, my name's not Dawn, but it could be
Ed.
Dawn.
Who's Dawn?
Yeah. I don't know.
Why do who? I don't understand who Dawn is.
Are you thinking about the female playable character from Pokemon Platinum?
No, I'm thinking. I thought your name was Dawn, but I guess it's Ed. And that's the kind of hard. I think that's the kind of breaking news coverage that you can expect from EGI2 when it really comes down to the brass tacks.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. It's Ed from New Jersey, not Dawn. Don't know who Dawn is or where that name, how Dawn popped into my head. But you think about all the Dawns that I knew a guy named Dawn in high school who walked with a cane. So that was he was an interesting character.
That's pretty cool.
All right, thanks for your call, Dawn, and we'll talk to you again soon, hopefully. And thank you for your thoughts about Geist for the GameCube.
Yeah, back to you, Robbie.
Back to you, Dawn. Caller, hello. You're on the air with EGI Twitch.tv. You're with me, Robbie Rackleff, on EGI 2's 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 5. Geist for the GameCube. What are your thoughts? Caller? Hello? Gotta let you go. Sorry, we got another call coming in, so we gotta keep it moving. Oh. Caller, hello. Caller, you're on the air with Twitch.tv/EGI_2's 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 5. Geist, what are your thoughts?
Back to you, Robbie. It is your old pal, friend of the show, friend of the chat. It's Scott from Pittsburgh.
Scott from the pit, friend of the show. Scott from the pit. You've been watching the show. Everybody's been talking about Dawn and the storyline. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm gonna dive right in, Robbie, and I'm gonna say the story. There is a story. The story is there, and I'm gonna get a little controversial here. People aren't used to me diving right in, and I'm gonna give the story so far 6.7. So we'll see where it adjusts from there.
So again, what we do with the storyline, game controls, sound, etc., is to give it a yes or no answers. But from what I'm sounding, if you're giving it a 6.6, if yes is a 10 and no is a 0, and then 6.6 is somewhere in the middle there, but is on the yes side of the middle, correct?
Well, back to you, Robbie. What I'm kind of doing is a little. So no, it's a definite yes.
It's definitely yes from Scott from Pittsburgh.
And then what I'm thinking is in my mind the story was so good that I'm gonna grade. As we go on, I'm gonna do a sliding scale. And I'm gonna like I'm starting at a 6.7 based off story alone, and then as we move on, my scale will slide.
Breaking news! That's got own rubric that he's going to be using throughout the stream to give us his. So you're going to be updating the score as we go as we step through the various features of the game.
Back to you, Robbie. That exactly breaking news. Whether it be by sea through call or in the chat, I will be updating my thoughts on the game. Right now, my thoughts are very high. I have never played this game. The hopes are high. I am looking forward to the rest of it. I would like to say, back to Audrey, back to Cody.
Oh, back to Audrey, back to you, Cody, back to you, Audrey.
It was nice to hear. It was nice to hear a couple call in, and it was nice. I'd like to thank Audrey for taking an interest in Cody's love for EGI2, because I know that's not easy. As you know, Robbie, and as some of the people in the chat know, my girlfriend Erica, she does not appreciate EGI2 much, although she has come to have a hate-love relationship with the list, but the actual show is still a no for her. But that doesn't stop me, and it's okay, because people are allowed to have different interests.
Absolutely, and I thank you for pointing that out. So, while you're saying that Erica's read of the Erica's story and writing score for EGI2 is a no, but the story and writing score for EGI2 of the EGI2 score for story and writing in Geist is a solid yes. So that's breaking news. It's a yes from twitch.tv/EGI_2. Scott, while I got you on the line, what are your thoughts?
Well, back to you,
back
Robbie.
To you, Scott.
Well, one thought that I had two quick thoughts, and I won't keep you very long. But one thought was that I wanted to thank you and Allan Resnick. I got a chance to thank Allan, and I got a chance to thank Mitch Anderson as well last night. Even though Mitch wasn't there, but he did fully support me, so I thanked him anyhow.
Oh, good. John, wait for a second. John, somebody named John Jaws. No, Joon. Jooo. Gee whiz. Jay on Johns. Has subscribed with Prime. You can here is breaking news. I won't hit something wrong with the breaking news button. People seem to not like when I hit the breaking news button.
I love the breaking news. Back to you, Robbie.
Back
I love
to you,
the
Scott.
news.
There it goes. And breaking news. You can subscribe with your Prime membership. Oh, it's loud, is what people are saying. Oh, dear goodness gracious. Oh, sorry, everybody who's watching with headphones on. I didn't realize that the breaking news button had gotten so loud. And actually, the button on the dashboard here on the Stream Deck is turned red. So in that way, it's breaking news too.
Breaking. Maybe that's the visual I think that red is the visual version of loud.
Yes. So let's not. We'll try not to hit that. And actually, back to you, Scott, because I have some other breaking news. I won't hit the breaking news button, but I will say breaking news, which is that I spilled water on my keyboard. So there's a 30% chance that at some point during the stream I'm going to hit the delete button when I'm trying to correct something that I'm typing in, and that will shut the computer down.
Well, back to you, Robbie. I will make a promise to you that if the computer does shut down and I happen to have anything to do with it, I will keep the stream going for the duration of the stream.
All right, thank you for that, Scott, because that would absolutely be. We can't put it in Rice because I didn't have time to put it in Rice because it happened. Obliviate. Goodness, that's a SAT word, isn't it? Obviate.
Well, and back to you, Rob. What I did want to
Go ahead.
Oh well, what I did want to thank you for was for your friends of the show were on the other night, and I think I may or may not be a friend of Ben O'Brien. The question's out there, but I necessarily don't want an answer because if he's not a friend, my feelings may be hurt, and if he was having a goof with me, he's a genius.
Oh, he's a goofy guy, but he's got a mind made. He's got a mind like a tin can. It's a sharp mind. You can't ever, and just like you look at a tin can, you can't know what it's thinking. Then you don't know what Ben O'Brien is thinking either.
Exactly. And but what brings me to my other point of is that I very much, I may have mentioned this before, but it brings me, I think you'll be proud of this, because I am making my own breaking news. I'm making my own list. And some people may know about this list already, but I wanted to share the list with you. And I wanted to tell you how it's so calming and it's so relaxing to call into this show, Robbie, back to you, Robbie, because when I call, all I have to say, at the most, all I have to say when I call this show is a back to you, Robbie, a back to you, Allan, I possibly throw a back to you, James, in there, and I say it's your old pal, friend of the show, friend of the chat. It's Scott from Pittsburgh, and one, I'd like to thank you for introducing me to the Luke Man Show, because it made me have a new friend. But here's the thing: when I call that show, it's almost like work.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's going, and the job is going to continue to get bigger, because for example, what I would have if I called tonight, for example, I would have to say, back to you, Luke, and back to you, Luke's guest. It is friend of the show, friend of the chat, friend of EGI2, friend of Robbie Rackleff, friend of Allan Resnick, friend of Kirby the Cat, I believe friend of Tom Fells. Definitely friend of Mitch Anderson, friend of Cricket and Ben, but maybe not friend of Ben, and friend of Wyatt. It's Scott from Pittsburgh, and you can understand how I have this list building, and I'm making more friends, and as more friends get added to that list, Robbie, that's becoming more and more of a job, and I wonder if they'll give me bits for that.
I can't guarantee there's any bits, but I can guarantee that we will continue to make this as much of a job as possible for everyone who watches. And I want to thank you for your call, Scott, but I do have to take another call right now. Thank you for your call. As always, Scott from the pit. But we do have another caller on the line. Caller, you're on the air with EGI Twitch. You're on the air with EGI2, 6 to 7 out of 10, game reviews, 5, Geist. What are you thinking about Geist? We've given Geist its ultimate score of story and writing of a score of yes. And we do have our next feature to talk about in Geist is, of course, the controls and gameplay of Geist. Caller, what are your thoughts?
Hey, Robbie, it's Gio.
Hey, Gio, it's what's happening?
I was going to talk about the story, but we can jump ahead to the controls.
No, let's
get into it.
Well, let's talk about the controls. We've got the controls right up here. We've got gameplay footage that we can look at right.
Again, I'm loving these controls.
Loving the controls. Where's the button for the? There it is.
My appetite. I can feel my appetite for control information being faded as I look. It's kind of a rich slide where it takes you like quite a bit of time to digest. All right, footage.
For the what?
Oh, I was just going to stop to look at the gameplay.
Oh, you don't have to look at anything. You can keep talking. That's if it's not from the heart, then it's not. Then it's not real. Is what I like to say.
I want to give Geist a fair chance. I don't know a whole lot about it already, so I want to really ingest it, see what's going on. The story was exciting so far.
Gio, give me 1 second here. Bookhouse BW in the chat says, do you want to pull for story or writing? I do not. We can do a pull for story or writing, but I want to say that it's still set in stone for me because of the story of the man that goes to the place and becomes the ghost, and doesn't get his brainwashed. That to me is a story, and it gets a yes from EGI2, but people if people want to say that, give their own opinions of it, then everything is allowed. It's like the Assassin's Creed, which is freedom. It's everything. Everything is allowed. Gio.
Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law.
Yeah. Great. Gio, how are things where you are? Are people out on the street? Are people coming out to talk about Geist in the coffee shops, in the subway stations, or bus stops, or wherever people congregate?
I am holed up inside. The streets are dark and scary, and inside is warm and safe. So I'm inside, warm and safe with Robbie.
But you can't. You can't.
Nice.
You're never quite safe when the Geists are flopping around out there, because a Geist could come and inhabit your computer monitor or your telephone or what have you, or your refrigerator, slam the door open and shut a few times, knock some of the tin cans that you've kept in there on the ground, and scare you, and then get in you.
Yeah, so we haven't. I know we talked a little bit about the story. We haven't really learned about what the Geists are. I'm guessing that's like a poltergeist, like a ghost. I think that's going to be part of the thrill of it for me. Is learning the rich world and what the Geists are. Is the man in the chair a Geist? Does he know a Geist? These are all questions.
These are all questions, and some questions, let's be honest, you. Some questions simply don't have answers.
Well, this is the thing about the review, is you want the review to give a taste of the game. You don't want to spoil the whole thing. Sometimes you want to capture that experience. Except maybe on this show, where we already know it's only like a 6 to 7 out of 10 game. And so maybe you don't want to play it.
Well, we don't necessarily know that it's a 6 to 7 out of 10 game. There have been instances where we've had to go below or above the 6 to 7 out of 10 scale, but it's not only up to me to make that decision. It's up to all of us as a community to make that decision together.
I think it's safe to say it's going to be like approximately 6 to 7, right? Like if it were a 10. I think you wouldn't have put it on the show. Like I think we trust your approximation, even if it goes a little over or a little under.
Dog Teeth wants to know if this could be an 8 out of 10 for none. And Dingus Van Sant just said Geist Cube. So, I don't know if those two messages were related, but those are two messages that have just come through the chat. Gio, while you're on the line here, what are your thoughts about that? Also, I'd like to point out another thing, which is that there's certain buttons on the keyboard that if I press, they will press other buttons because of the water. So if I press an N, and I'm going to go ahead and do this in the chat right now. You'll see this in just one moment. If I press, the N button stopped working. But if I press T, T works. Well, it didn't used to work. T used to also be H.
Have you seen one of those circuit breakers where the two switches are fused together with a piece of metal?
Looks like I'm just Gio. I think breaking news. I want to hit. All right, everybody, give me 1 second. I'm gonna hit the breaking news button and bring up the breaking news card, and then I'm gonna turn down the breaking news volume. But if you've got headphones on, take those damn headphones off for a second.
I think they can handle
it. Give me a countdown here, Gio.
3, 2, 1.
Breaking news. Oh, those are all the way up there. Good Lord. I can't believe I've been doing that to people for this long.
It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
Okay, let's do a quick test. I just want to make sure that worked. We're going to do a quick test. Joe Botnick says that's acceptable, and if Joe Botnick says Scampy Pants says it's still too loud. Damn.
No, it's good. It's good.
Not much better. Some people are saying not much better. Some people are saying better. I'm going to do something that I haven't done before live here on twitch.tv/EGI2. I'm taking the sound effect off of breaking news. So everybody just, if you're wearing headphones, let's take off the headphones. We're going to take the sound effect off of breaking news so we don't have this problem anymore. We don't have time tonight because we do have a lot of other features to get to in Geist for the Nintendo GameCube. Everybody, just come on. Doing
I
my
do.
best.
I have a.
Okay.
I have a question.
It's too
before I
loud,
go
but
after
we
this.
do need to know. Okay. Okay, everybody's saying don't take the sound effect off the breaking news.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
All right, so I guess we're keeping it on there. This is a communal. We're making decisions communally, and therefore it's not just it's more than just a democracy. I think I would say we're building consensus.
It's a whole circle of consensus.
Well, and in some ways, I think that this all comes back to, of course, the Geist situation, which, of course, we now see as having. We ask ourselves: does Geist have controls? Does it have gameplay? Gio, what are your thoughts?
I have one more quick question about the show before I get back to Geist.
Right.
Because this has been bugging me. How many stream decks are there?
There's
Is it
two.
2 or 3?
There's two stream decks. And then there's a Steam Deck.
Okay, because I was thinking Allan got one, but maybe you gave him his. Maybe you gave him yours.
I gave Allan a Stream Deck X. I gave Allan one Stream Deck. Got it?
Okay.
And then I got a Stream Deck XL. This is how it went. I got a Stream Deck, and then I had the only Stream Deck. But then I got a Stream Deck XL, so I gave Allan the little Stream Deck. But then I saw there was a sale on Stream Deck XLs, so I took Allan's Stream Deck back and sent it back to the company. And I got a refund for that Stream Deck because it was still in the return policy window.
Oh, so one went back.
So
okay, that's what happened.
But that's good. Good eye on you.
Yeah. I was wondering because I want to be able to trust the trailer. I want to be able to trust the
trailer.
The trailer
as close to the current reality as possible in the announcement trailers for each stream. Of course, by the time we actually go live, things might have changed. But it's the trailer. It's the information I have in front of me when I export the trailer and I put up online for people to chew on and decide if tonight's the night or not.
Okay, for Geist, I saw lots of controls, lots of different fonts. I saw a C-stick on there because it is a GameCube.
It is a GameCube controller, after all.
I love the C-stick. I love the little hexagon. Is that what it is? I love the C-stick.
Correct.
It's so bad.
And absolutely, where's the Yeti? What I don't know. Allan Resnick wants to know where the Yeti mic is. Allan, always great to see you in the chat, but don't know where the Yeti mic is. Sorry. But Geist's controls and gameplay gets a yes from twitch.tv/EGI_2, 6 to 7 out of 10 in game reviews, 5's Geist. So if you've been wondering if it had gameplay, if it had controls, Gio, then you've got your answer.
I agree. I'm seeing controls. I saw some gameplay. I saw a little bit of gameplay, mostly cinematic. Again, going back to that, to the story. So there's definitely story, definitely gameplay, definitely controls. Geist seems pretty solid so far.
Geist is it's not looking terrible for Geist. I'm going to be honest with you. Thank you for your call, Gio. We do have some more information. We have some more game information to get to. Not the electronic game information from before the EGI2. But we do have we've got a yes for story and story. We have a yes for story and writing. We have a yes for gameplay and controls. Let's see what we have next on deck for our features, and that is, of course, graphics. Graphics are up on the screen now. It's up to us to decide if there are graphics here on Geist for the Nintendo GameCube. Caller, you're on the air with EGI. You've called in. What are your thoughts?
Hi, Robbie. It's should I say who I am?
Yes. Say who you are,
from.
where you're calling from. Does this game have graphics, in your opinion?
Hi, Robbie. It's me, Jan Redmond from upstate New York.
Give me 1 second. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, I'm looking at the graphics now. No, I'm not. They're not up yet. Oh, yeah, look at that guy.
Alan says I should raid like when I'm done. Abominable Snowman says Alan raid like when you're done. What does that mean?
I like this kitchen. Maybe he's talking about that because we
Raid
I
like.
it.
Raid like. What is that? Is it like raid light? Like a
Raid like.
Luke.
Like,
Luke. Alan Resnick,
like
of course,
that
talking about the
movie,
Luke
Raid.
Man.
Like a roguelike.
Lurk, what are your thoughts?
Lurk. I mean, I like the look of it. I was kind of thinking, I had a response to Scott earlier.
All right.
Because he was saying that calling into this, and I know I'm diverging a little bit here, but he was saying that calling into this show is very relaxing. And I love the show and I love calling in, but I have to say I feel the exact opposite way because I put the maximum energy into everything I do, even relaxing.
That's incredible. So you're saying that before you relax, before you sit down, kick your feet up, open the window, let the breeze come in, tickle your toes and your tickle your toes and your the wind from the window tickles your toes and your fingers.
Yep,
You make sure to have complete control over your entire scenario there.
And I giggle and wiggle, but in reality, it's a high tension scenario for me.
It's a high tension scenario. It's a Geist like scenario, if you will, because if you were to
It's
be
like Geist.
so what I like to think that you're trying to say, Lurk, is that we are dealing with a type of a person, that being you, that wants to have a complete understanding of their environment at all times in case the main character John Ramey from Geist were to ever pop into your life and possess some of your objects, scare the bejesus out of you, and then take over your body and maybe go on vacation with your credit cards.
I am ready at all times to do an absolute complete 100% smackdown on any stapler that Sean. Was it Luke?
Lurk.
Lurk?
Yeah,
Who's
that's
Lurk?
from upstate New York.
Oh, sure, we'll go with that. Hello?
So your thoughts are graphics-wise?
Graphics-wise, I mean, I saw the chef in that kitchen, and I like the camera sways he was walking around, and it's got that sort of bilinear filtering on it. I'd say graphics is a yes.
You think bilinear filtering?
I think it has bilinear filtering on those textures. I don't think it's anisotropic 16x, and I don't think that it's nearest neighbor. I think it's
trilinear. Yeah.
Trilinear?
No, these don't look like. Well, I would say that's the nearest neighbor to bilinear, isn't it?
What?
Or is
Say
there
that
no
again?
filtering at all?
I think it's got that smudgy bilinear filtering on those textures. That's what I'm going to stick with, and I'm going to give bilinear filtering gets a 6.5.
One of the things that's well, I've got you on the phone still. One of the things that I do want to point out in the Geist gameplay is that every once in a while it shows a little bit of a miniature kind of a character model in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen there. You see that, Lurk?
I saw that. Are you?
So what I believe, what we're looking
you're
at
the guy.
there is not only graphics, but in fact a representation of the person whom you are possessing.
That's extra graphics, and that gets a 7 from me.
So that's a double graphics situation, is what you're saying.
That's a double graphics. I just hope that John Ramey can go in and stop the demon virus.
Demon virus? What the hell are you talking about?
Wasn't there a demon virus they were talking about in the story section?
No, there is a little girl. Geist is a first-person shooter and puzzle game. Thomas Bryson,
Okay, the guy
personal
listen,
friend,
the guy
deep
in the
undercover,
cutscene-
high-priority projects. No, they're just trying to. I think there's brainwashing. There's someone named Dawn somewheres. There's a company called Volks and a little girl named Mimi, and that's all the news.
The Volk Corporation has a demon virus. I heard it in the cutscene. The guy said when he was briefing Sean, he said, I heard the word demon and I heard the word virus in the same sentence, and that screams demon virus to me.
Well, you can't listen to what everybody says. If you believe what you hear everywhere you hear people talking, then you could end up getting in a bit of a tricky situation because. Oh, Joe Botnick says there is a demon virus.
That's true, Bob. You can't
we can't say Joe Botnick, of course, has a British accent, and therefore must always be trusted. So Joe Botnick is correct. So not only demon virus gets a yes, and graphics also get a yes.
But he's got kind of more of a southern British accent.
What?
Never mind all that. It's a yes to graphics. From Jan.
Thank you for your call, Lurker. He's Lurk. He's from upstate New York. He's got a lot of thoughts.
From upstate New York. I only call on the non-numbered stream.
Great. Thank you for doing that, and always good to hear from somebody from. We've got a few callers from that regularly call into the show from upstate New York, but. That one apparently will only call in during the game reviews. We do have a yes for graphics. We have a yes for gameplay and controls. And we also have a yes for story and writing. So let's see what our next slide is in the slideshow for the game features. And that is, of course, sound. Caller, you're on the air with with the EGI2's 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews. 5, Geist. What are your thoughts? Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Aura calling from Savannah, Georgia.
Aura from Savannah, Georgia, Ghost Town. So you've got Geist Town. So Ghost and Geist are sometimes are the same things, and in this case, it's not quite the same thing, is it? Because in Savannah, of course, the ghosts are, old women with bonnets and people that used to drive horse-drawn carriages, and just I would say, some of them are murderers for certain, but most of them I would say are probably fairly irreverent. Is that no? Not irreverent. They might be irreverent. No, they're fairly innocuous.
They're old war generals, and then like the standard creaking under the stairs and spooky orb. But it's not the ghost that's going to get you.
Right. There's probably a lot of people who grew up playing with sticks and like hit got a scratch from the stick and then got the infection and then died in the park.
Yes, we see a lot of that. We have statues to those people in the parks downtown.
But what you're not necessarily, but in Geist Town, Ghost Town, Savannah, Georgia, doesn't necessarily have the issue of secret agents posing as non-corporeal assassins that have been brainwashed by the Volks Corporation and are stalking around looking for, I'm guessing, scientists that might be developing a opposing team's demon virus.
I mean, if there are, I haven't run into them. They're doing a good job at being secret agents if that's the case, and more power to them.
More power to them, and of course, it's. Are you Dawn?
What?
Are you Dawn?
Oh no, I'm not Dawn. I can see how you could get mistaken, but no.
I'm really certain there's a Dawn somewheres.
I mean, statistically, yes, there is a Dawn somewhere.
So, what in terms of sound, there, Dawn? What are your thoughts about where Geist stands on that?
So I heard a little bit from the trailer. I did miss a little bit on the walk home, but the sound I heard, it did sound very scary. I was a little uncomfortable listening to it, and I think that's kind of what you're looking for in a haunted game.
But this isn't quite. This doesn't necessarily feel like to me. This feels less of like a sort of a Resident Evil style game or a Haunting Ground kind of game or Rule of Rose or what have you. But in fact, it feels almost like a if you took something like, I don't know, say like a LucasArts point and click game like Loom, and made that into kind of a first-person shooter. There's a lot of shooting in this game, and I do believe that we will see some of that in the gameplay footage that we have up here. But that is not necessarily the core of the game.
No, but shooting itself is also pretty scary. I mean, you see these kind of weird mercenaries and turrets that are on the screen. When you see those come out, you get pretty afraid.
Dingus Van Sant says Dong Kink Kong. Why do you think they said that?
That is a great question. I honestly don't know, but it's worth investigating. Can Dingus Van Sant explain why they may have said that?
Oh, because of the dawn. Dawn? No, not that dawn. Oh, I think, and again, I can't rule out that it has something to do. I have been thinking a lot about people from high school lately, so it could have something to do with the dawn from high school that I knew. And the way that, here's an interesting story. A lot of people aren't talking about this on twitch.tv/EGI_2. But Don, the reason that he walked with a cane was because he had a tumor in his leg that was operated on improperly. And he got, and so he lost some of the use of his leg for some years. But then went on to join a traveling gospel group that went and played gospel music as far flung as Japan. And the last time I saw Don, and this breaking news, the last time I saw Don, he was wearing a kimono that he had just purchased from his latest trip to Japan. I guess there's a lot of gospel music fans in Japan. Didn't know that.
Really? No, they should make a game about him.
They should make a game about him. He also really likes Dungeons and Dragons, but I guess that should be assumed by somebody who likes gospel music and wears kimonos.
This guy sounds pretty cool. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, he's tall as all hell. He's taller than me by a good 4 or 5 inches.
Really?
Well, he doesn't walk with a cane anymore.
Okay.
Don, I thought I would ask you, in terms of your experience of the Ghosts of Savannah, is there a place that if people are thinking about traveling to that, it's a classic town, it's a party town, but it's also a sleepy town. If there's a place that you thought would be a kind of a spiritual nexus, a kind of a pool of spiritual energy in the great city of Savannah, where would you find that?
That would be Bonaventure Cemetery. If you go downtown, anyone could tell you where it is. It's a huge cemetery. A lot of really old dead people. I want to say live there, but they don't live anymore. But they live in the dirt. And you can take a lot of ghost tours around the area. They'll tell you all kinds of stories about mean people from the Civil War who used to live here and tried to set the city on fire and things like that. But it's pretty scary down there. That would be the place that I would go if I were, say, some sort of psychic or spirit person.
Well, let's say somebody in the Dingus Van Sant hit it right the nail on the head, Don, which is that I think that you could make a ton of money doing not just ghost tours but Geist tours. If you had such a mind for entrepreneurial mind, you could say that this is not only the place where the spirits of the old South are, but here is a place where the spirits of non-corporeal assassins are, and we'll take you to and we'll promise to keep you safe. And then you dress up with, say, Kevlar and like a big helmet with like a visor on it, and maybe some.
Some sort of body armor.
Well,
hold
on for a second. I'm getting some sort of crazy alert on my phone.
Oh.
Oh, it's a flash flood warning. We've been getting them all
be
week.
Careful.
Oh no, it's no problem. We're nicely plopped on. Thank you, Google Alert. It's a hillside back there, but it's been shorn up properly with we've got a lot of succulents and cactuses and vines over what would if it was just a dirt situation, we might be a little bit more worried if we were living in some of these millionaires up there in the Hollywood Hills and Studio City and their little $1 million hollows.
How haunted is where you live?
Haunted? Well, I live in Northeast Los Angeles. Of course, there's many people that have lived in Northeast Los Angeles before me, going back as far as the indigenous Tongva people, and previous to that, it could be assumed the X-Men. So sure, there's always ghosts around us, and there's lots of churches and churches that have become different churches over the years. And as far as cemeteries, haven't seen a lot of those, but I know that there's rumored that the apartment, the place where I live, the backyard that is now again shorn up nicely for to prevent damage from mudslides and general sloughing off situation. Apparently, the person that lived here buried several dogs back there, so those could be around.
Oh Lord. Yeah, you hate to see a sloughing off situation and also buried dogs. It just sounds miserable altogether. To go back to your idea of the Geist tour, Savannah does allow drinking downtown on the streets, so I think that might also be a big appeal.
So we all know that drinking is a great way to just get people into a state of mind where they might get real freaked out.
Yes, loosen them up a little bit.
Well, thanks for your call, Don. Stay safe with all of the ghosts of Savannah. I read Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, like most people in the United States, and then I watched the movie, and so I feel like I've lived in Savannah for at least several weeks. Caller, you're on the air with EGI_2. It's our fifth review, 6 to 7 out of 10. Our fifth 6 to 7 out of 10 game review, Geist. We're talking about sound. What are your thoughts?
Hi, Robbie. This is Joe Botnick calling in.
Joe Botnick from the UK. Glad to hear you. Always glad to hear that voice. It's the voice that you trust. It's the person that called in.
That was me. I wasn't going to call in, but I've discovered something online which is I think worthy of breaking news, and I wanted to bring it up with you.
Breaking news. Joe Botnick's got breaking news. We're trusting him because of the accent, but he's gonna give it to us. He's gonna give us the straight shot. There's not gonna be any sort of estuaries of falsehoods flowing into the river of truth that is about to spill out of Joe Botnick at this time here live on twitch.tv/EGI_2, 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews, 5 Geist. Take it away, Joe.
This is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I'm reading that around the time of Geist's release, it was considered in the range of reasonable to good. And now, to me, and I think probably to you as well, that sounds a lot like 6 to 7 out of 10.
It's 6 to 7 out of 10. It sounds exactly like a 6 to 7 out of 10. I've seen a lot of people talk about Geist. There was a lot of hype about Geist because it was the first. It was the first person shooting game. I wouldn't call it a first person shooter. Either of these games. One is Metroid Prime. 2 is Geist. Neither of them are really first person shooters. One is an adventure. Is really just an action adventure game, and one is something like a puzzle action game. And people thought that maybe because Metroid Prime was so good that Geist would be a suitable follow up. When in fact, the expectations I think were unreasonably high because the people that made Geist, and this is going to come up later in terms of features, but the people that made Geist hadn't made a lot of quality titles previously. They had worked mostly on licensed games for the the Olsen twins games. They had made a game called Danger Girl for the PlayStation, and there's one other thing. So people had expectations because of the exclusivity deal, because of Metroid Prime, but Geist came in at a solid, at that time, I believe, between a 5.8 and a 7 out of 10.
I'm thinking it's like the first. It was kind of a progenitor to this whole 6 to 7 out of 10 project. Like maybe without Geist, we wouldn't be here. And I just wanted to bring that up. That people, even back then, like nobody's talking about this now.
Nobody's talking about
this. No one else is,
and no one else, and as far as I know, no one else is Nintendo GameCube on twitch.tv/EGI_2 right now, except us.
Yeah, I don't think so. But back then when it came out, obviously people were reviewing it. But even then, it was considered. What did I say? Good to mild. I
would say it's mild to medium, mild to mid.
Reasonable to.
Because we do love to
is
say the
what
word
they said.
mid now, don't we, Joe?
Mid is very popular. I think it's the young people are saying mid.
Caller, you're on. You're Joe. They keep sending us flash flood warnings, but we're not worried about it. Again, I did go up onto the hillside right last week before all the storms, and I shored up all of the areas that I felt like could become gushing rivers. and I put what are called banana vines on top of them, and they're a very hardy, water-absorbing, succulent vine that it's kind of a meaty looking thing, Joe.
Okay. Is it mostly for the sake of preventing flooding, or is there any kind of crop producing?
No, not edible. Although the leaves are they're little like kind of, they look almost like fingers, and they're thick like fingers, like a child's fingers, and you break them off. Although you would never want to do that, of course, to a child. And inside is kind of like an aloe like substance, but it's not aloe. They're called banana succulents or banana vines.
Okay. And is all this kind of stuff why? I recall Allan had trouble getting into your house in quarantine GI, although maybe that's not canon anymore. I kind of lost track.
No, we can talk about that because because that's actually a big part of the whole shoring up. Moby 190 is giving 2 tier 1 subs to EGI2's community. Thank you, Moby 190, and congratulations to Nugmaster and Sarko Line. So great job there for Moby 190 and. What you, I believe, were talking about a second ago, Joe Botnick, was the jade.
The jade.
Yeah, so we got a lot of that because that stuff grows like crazy, and it grows fast, and it stores a lot of water in its trunk, and it's great for ensuring that you get a lot of and you get these very beautiful white leaves that attract hummingbirds and bees and all sorts of the fauna that you enjoy in Los Angeles that we get to live besides. Despite
does that prevent
it's the pollution issue. What's that?
Like you don't get as much flooding because there's a lot of jade. Like, does that help the flooding situation?
Absolutely. So it's money. If you live in a place that has a serious monsoon problem like LA does these days, then you gotta figure out how to shore up your hillsides with as many water absorbent plants as possible.
Good to know. I'm gonna say sound is a yes, by the way.
Vertical Mammoth said fauna is plants, but fauna is animal.
Flora is plants.
Yeah, flora and fauna. Okay, they figured it out. Thanks, Vague Plague, for gifting another tier 1 sub to the EGI2 community and giving it to Earwig TV. God, I don't like that name at all. Can't imagine what it would be like. We got earwigs out here, and they are a nasty-looking bit of business.
I'm learning a lot about the Los Angeles ecosystem tonight, and I appreciate that.
And we appreciate you, Joe. So it's a yes from Joe Botnick in sound, and it also is a yes from EGI twitch.tv/EGI_2. It's a yes for sound. So we've got a yes for sound. We've got a yes for
amazing
graphics, yes for control and gameplay, and yes for story and writing. Thanks for your call, Joe. Any final thoughts?
Geist looks good. I love the GameCube, and I grew up playing the GameCube. I got it when I was 11, and I will always remember beating the first boss of Metroid Prime before I went to school, the morning after I got the GameCube. I love that little thing. It's the little console that could, and I'm really glad to see it featured on EGI2, and I hope we get to see it more.
Joe, I'm going to step away for a moment, so just keep talking.
Okay, Geist looks really good. I believe I've looked this up. That it was developed by N-Space, and N-Space did, if I'm not mistaken, GoldenEye Rogue Agent, and you can kind of see that in the DNA of this game, where it's kind of like I don't want to say subpar vibe, but you can kind of tell that it's got a lot of heart, and they tried their best, and they gave it their all. And GoldenEye Rogue Agent was kind of the same, in that it was not quite there, but you can tell they put a lot of effort into it. And obviously, GoldenEye, a difficult game to follow up with any kind of sequel unless it's a James Bond-esque, completely different kind of storyline. But the Geist looks like it's a similar kind of situation. So I did not play this one, but looking at it, I wish I did, because I'd probably have a lot of fond memories of it. And they went on to do some other first-person shooters as well. They did Call of Duty 4 for the Nintendo DS. I did not know there was a Nintendo DS port of Call of Duty 4. That seems like a difficult thing to do. But they managed it. So N-Space, they're just the developers that could, and they sadly have not made anything since 2015. which is a big shame. But I think maybe the age of games like this has kind of come to an end, and I'm sad about that. And maybe EGI 2 is the only thing keeping this kind of generation alive, and that nobody else is talking about this.
Nobody else is talking. Guys, on twitch.tv/EGI2, nobody else is talking about this. Joe Botnick is brought up one last thing that I want to say is a good thing to bring up, which is the fact that the makers of Geist was a major commercial flop. And so they were not able to make a follow-up. They were not able to make a port. There were some mumblings about a possible port to the Wii.
Okay.
And then they made the Conduit games, which were kind of like the Wii's Geist.
The Geist of the Wii.
But
they say.
Instead of doing that, they made a Call of Duty 4, Call of Duty World of War, a GoldenEye game for the DS, and I think that is something that we could be talking about in future, Joe, which is these first-person shooter games that were on the Nintendo DS that were, again, published or developed by N-Space.
That's very interesting, because the only DS first-person shooter I played was Metroid Hunters, I think it was called, and I don't think the system really lended itself to the first-person shooter dynamic, but I see that N-Space did quite a lot of those, so that would be interesting to visit later on.
Gun Pixie contributed 500 channel points. What does that mean, Joe?
I think it means they get to highlight their message or something? I'm not 100% sure.
And also, We've heard that, Joe, you deserve some bits. I don't know how to give you the bits, and I don't know how to give Scott the bits, but maybe there's a way that... I don't know if... is that something that I'm supposed to do, is give people bits?
I don't think so. I think people give the channel bits based on what's happening. So giving Scott bits or giving me bits would give you bits by proxy, and I think that's what we want. We want EGI2 to have bits and subs.
Right. So what I would say is just, Joe, whenever you feel lost, whenever you feel alone, just hammer on all the buttons on the keyboard, assuming that your keyboard... look, I'm going to do it again. See if it works again.
Okay.
I'm going to hit the N button. There it is, HN. I'm going to hit B. It says GB. I just hit the letter B, and I just hit the letter N, but it added all these other things. Y is fine. Let's just do this. A is fine. B is... Oh, nope. B's bad. B's got a GB. Oh, man.
Robbie, could you use maybe some of the bits and subs to maybe upgrade the old workstation?
Well, I would love to just see if I could dump some rice on this thing, if I could maybe just set it outside after the rain's over in the sunlight and see if it'll just dry itself out.
That sounds like a good idea, unless it floods, which hopefully it shouldn't because of all the flora.
Joe, what's the HS2 situation like these days?
People got really angry about HS2. Because it didn't pan out the way people wanted. It was supposed to be, to the uninitiated, it was a high-speed rail that was supposed to go from, I believe it was London to Birmingham, maybe. And people got annoyed because it was going to bulldoze through a lot of stuff in the way, or they were annoyed that it wasn't going far enough, and the whole thing's kind of fallen apart, and no one's really sure how the extent of where it's going to go, how far it's going to go. It's a great big mess. It's very embarrassing to the current government, along with many other things.
Well, thank you for your call, Joe. Stay safe over there across the lake. They call it they call it a lake, but it's more like a
it's an ocean.
It's an ocean. Thank you for your call. So we've got again, if you're just joining us, we're reviewing Geist on the Nintendo GameCube. We've got a yes for graphics, a yes for sound, a yes for gameplay and controls, and a yes for story and writing in this classic 6 to 7 out of 10 game. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think Joe had brought this up earlier, that this is sort of a kind of a almost a perfect example of a 6 to 7 out of 10 game that came out in that period of time that we cover so extensively on twitch.tv/EGI_2, which of course is the 2002 to 2011 period. And I thought I would take a little bit of a digression here to talk about why we focus on that, which is that the way that I say I, but when I say I and we, they're sort of interchangeable here because, of course, because we do that, and so we here on twitch.tv/EGI_2 focus on that period because that was a period of a great deal of innovation, a great deal of risk taking in that 2002 to 2011 period. You have in that period, of course, the sort of settlement of the console generation was the GameCube, the Xbox, and the PlayStation 2, which became Anyway, caller, you're on the air with twitch.tv/EGI_2. Caller, what are your who are you? Where are you calling from? What are your thoughts on Geist?
Hi, this is Catherine from Philly.
Catherine from Philly. It's a party. It's a party city with party people in it, and there's also there's also a lot of weird. There's a weird club by the airport there that people used to go to. Well, do you know about that club?
Yeah, one time I was watching like a live court case, and there was this lawyer that kept talking about that. But anyway, I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about Geist, if that's cool with you.
So that's fine. So it's fine with me, Catherine. You're watching the show. You're looking at the chat. You're listening to the conversation. What are your thoughts?
Well, so you were just you kind of were before you got distracted by what seemed like sounds upstairs or something of this nature.
Yeah, I think there was some sort of there's like a varmint running on the roof.
A varmint. Got a lot of those in that California, out there in that wasteland.
Well, here's it's a funny thing, Catherine, because the fact is that we've had issues with them in our yard where previously we had spent a lot of money putting in some Bermuda grass or St. Augustine grass because it's a good grass. It grows quick. It's hardy stuff. And we spent about $500 putting in this on the top of our hill, which is kind of a flatter area. So it's not just the whole slope on top of the house, above the house, but there's also a nice flat area where we put in the St. Augustine grass. And it's also drought resistant. So we thought win-win scenario, hardy stuff, drought resistant, grows fast, a little bit of more expensive than just a bag of grass seed that you might get at the Dollar Tree or somewheres like that. But we put it in. Grew great for about 2 months, and then and then we went out of town, and then we came back, and the dang raccoons had torn it to shreds.
Oh no! Oh my God! And there's a whole saint associated. You think that the church would step? I don't know. That sucks, though. I'm sorry.
Well, what I did there, Catherine, is rather than try to recreate the whole thing, even though I do like St. Augustine grass quite a lot, it's the grass that I grew up with in my backyard down there in Florida. I just went ahead and I bought a cheap bag of grass seed, sprinkled it, watered it for about 4 weeks. Tried to be mindful, of course, of the drought restrictions that we're supposed to be observing. But it grew great. No problems from the raccoons, nor the possums, nor the coyotes that used to come in the yard and eat the smaller of the two things, the smaller two animals. But what they have been doing, and this is where I think the raccoons have really been busting my balls here, is busting my chops. Not to be crude about it. Is that they've been stealing oranges from neighbors' trees and then leaving the oranges on the grass.
Wow! So they're kind of like they've kind of designated that as like a chill space for them. They're keeping their fun stuff there. They're stealing from the orange havers and giving to your lawn.
Well, you would like to think that, but what they seem to do is just take a little bite and then leave most of the orange with the peel on, just laying on the grass.
So they don't like oranges, but they just forget that they don't like oranges, and then they keep trying.
I think they're just littering, Catherine.
Oh, just straight up, they're just. Yeah, no, actually, that's actually a better assessment, I would say. That actually makes more sense. I feel like you're kind of revealing to me the level of conscientiousness that you need to deploy when being anywhere adjacent to like a home owner or like a home leaser or like a renter. Like, you got to be so conscious of the environment out there, and you do in general.
Well,
but I feel like California, it's like there's a lot of, it's kind of, there's some shit going on.
Well, there is, and the environment can be quite intense. Not that the Philadelphia environment or the Florida environment from whence I came,
Right.
don't have their moments, but the fact of the matter is that I do try to adapt as best as I can. It's what the original Rackleffs that sailed over the Picts that became the Scots, and they sailed over yonder to the North American continent, founded themselves a place in Maine, adapted there, then sailed over to Oregon, adapted themselves there. My parents found their way back to Florida, and I adapted there until I came out here. Well, I did Baltimore then. Well, it doesn't matter. The point is that I was talking a little bit about the 2002 to 2011 period of gaming, Catherine.
Yes.
And what I wanted to say was that in that period, you have a couple things happen that I think really that really stand out to me. One, I think you have a spot where the people that are making the games that made some of the classic 2D games are finally getting a handle on the 3D tech, and they're doing smart things in terms of turning 2D game franchises into 3D games that people want to play, that have, for the most part, aged pretty well. Obviously, your Super Mario 64s and your Banjo-Kazooies came a few years earlier than that, but I think the process becomes a little bit more streamlined for, smaller, more niche titles, I suppose. The other thing you have is you have the advent of these. Of course, you get touchscreens in that touchscreen gaming in that period, and you also have the portable gaming in that period, which of course I think leads us to the precursors of the Nintendo Switch, which of course are the Game Boy Advance, DS, 3DS, and PlayStation Vita and PlayStation Portable.
Absolutely.
And there's other ones, but I can't remember what I was going to say because I am a little bit worried about the sounds on the roof.
Sure, of course. Well, I mean, if you want to check on it, we can pull one of these. I could go off on my own analysis of the AA game industry from 2002 to 2011.
Well, let's hear it because I might try to just. I'm not going to go on the roof, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just leave the room. I'm going to go. There's a stairwell up behind the house. I'm going to go up the stairwell. I'm just going to look across the roof, but I don't want to go on the roof because it's probably pretty slippery right now. What with the rainfall. Yeah. So, Catherine, take it away. Your thoughts on Geist. Just take as long as you need because I'm going to go look at the roof.
All right, cool. See you soon. Take care. Enjoy the. I hope all is well up there. Here's the thing, y'all. Hello. How are you? I'm Catherine from Philly. I'll be honest with you. I didn't play Geist, but I'm pretty interested in this era of games because it does not exist anymore, as we've talked about a lot. There is this idea. I think we have to regard. Specifically in art, right? Because art is so much about a thing getting built, right, and blooming, and then money people coming in and destroying it, right? And like money people were there the whole time, right? But like in many ways, we've seen this happen a lot, right? This also happened to the AA industry. The industry was a certain size at a certain time, right? And it was still very big. So right now, Robbie, we're talking about the nature of the size of the industry at that time, starting in 2002, and the thing that ends in 2011 is the industry was big in 2002, right? There was money coming into it, but it was not so massively scaled where it was suffocated. Because right now we are in an era of in my opinion, economically, 10 years after, 13 years after 2011, we are even more suffocated than we have been. Which is to say, I mean, look at where the AA industry is now. It doesn't exist. It literally is annihilated because, in my opinion, it got too big. There's too much attention. Too many capital investors are coming in and being like, hey, we got to make, we got to do, I don't know, we got to do Fortnite. No, I don't know. Think about 2011. Like, they were in development of Destiny 1, right? That was a thing. We were in, what's some other, 2011, big title shift, context shift? The death of the AA.
I think one of the big things that happens in 2011 is that you start to see a real ramping up of just game development in general, because you have the indie
Right.
market really coming online, and then you have a lot of money
Very
pouring into just the main system, the big three themselves, and the amount of games really starts to become almost just in terms of games that are being
You can't consume it
released.
all at
You
once.
can't consume them all.
Yeah.
Back at
Right.
around 2000, between 2002 2011, there was a good chance that you could actually play most of the well-received games that had come out in a year. And
That's very
after
true.
that period, I think it becomes just very difficult, very fast to even get your head around the games that win, just the games that win awards.
Yeah, that's a great insight. And maybe you'll remember what maybe you can finish my sentence a little bit for me here. What was that? It was a little bit before my time because I didn't have an Xbox 360 at this time. But the Xbox Live Arcade, does this ring any bells?
Oh yeah.
This huge saturation of indie games now hitting the console market as well. That felt like a real tipping point. But I feel like that was a positive. Like, I love indie games. I love the proliferation and the social acceptance of indie games. I feel like indie stuff and other art mediums are not taken as seriously. I'm really excited about that for games. That's really cool to me.
Yikes!
But I don't know. What comes to mind for you there? Do you have any memories of the Xbox Live Arcade? I mean, that shit is full of 6 out of 10 or 6 to 7 out of 10.
I would say
Really
that
good.
I think that yes, I think that one of the things that Xbox Live and WiiWare and a few other whatever the PlayStation equivalent was, I guess it was just PSN.
Yeah, I think it was just the PSN. Yeah,
I think
PSN
that there was a moment when a lot of really thoughtful, thought-provoking, independently developed games, small budget games, were coming out that were well regarded and sold a lot, and that opened up the floodgates for people that wanted to basically make very low budget essentially shovelware.
Yeah, that's so true. It's funny. This is oh god, I was about to fucking spoil.
Well, Catherine, let me interrupt you for a second there, because what I wanted to say, and I couldn't really put it into words because my mind was being pulled in several different directions at once. But the thing that I was worried about was that I was worried that there was a coyote on the roof.
Oh yeah, how did that go?
I
Gosh,
don't think it was a coyote. It could have been a large cat. But we do have coyotes in my neighborhood. They have historically come up into the yard again in pursuit of raccoons and possums and cats, and we have mice and rats as well. But occasionally you'll see a coyote in a place where you don't want to see one, and I thought there might be one on the roof, but there was not a coyote that I could see. And even if there were coyotes coming up on the roof, what I would mostly be worried about is them just tearing up the tiles and causing a roof leak during the rain.
That would be terribly annoying. So, okay, is there a way to effectively and efficiently get rid of the coyotes? Because I feel like with bears, you're supposed to kind of bang some stuff around. In some cases, right? Maybe some bears you do that with, and others you don't. I don't really. I would get killed, is what I'm saying. I would be annihilated by.
You would be annihilated.
I would be annihilated by the fauna, if it were up to me. But do you know what are the? I feel like you would know this. I feel like you're kind of implying that you have kind of.
Well, I believe I have a sort of a. I believe that I have the mind. I have a mind of someone who communes with animals occasionally. I believe I had a thing that happened in my teenage years when I touched. The tip of one of my fingers to the tip of a finger of a raccoon, and then during the pandemic, when the coyotes were really coming out to hang out, I would run around at night and chase them around like we were playing on a field together, and I don't know if that's what they felt, but that's what I felt.
Wow.
So if you're near a train, if you're near
animal handling, Robbie Lord.
If you're near any, Catherine, if you're near any freight tunnels, keep an eye out at night. If you have an infrared camera, you could set that up, point it at the train tunnel. I don't know if that's that's the part of town where you live in Philadelphia, but you do get the coyotes and the coyote wolves that are traveling up and down the train tracks, and that's how they get around the northeast corridor.
Wow, really? Oh my God. Yo!
And if you're not familiar with the term coyote wolves, it's basically exactly what you assume that it is. It's wolves and coyotes breeding together. So they're small wolves or large coyotes, depending on how you feel about it.
Wow. You know, I came here for the EGI2, and I got the AGI2. I got the electronic animal information. AI2? No, I don't. Never, anyway.
So
Sorry.
if you're just joining us, we're
That's
talking to
pretty good.
Catherine about the period of the before the oversaturation of the games market, but we're also talking about coyotes, coyote wolves, and apparently there's a scene in Geist where you possess a naked woman, and now you're running around as a naked woman and then she's got a Samus helmet. So that's breaking news.
That is pretty fun. You know, I have to say I do want to just highlight. Oh yeah, look at that Samus helmet. I do want to highlight the fact that we got that little character model running around in a circle in the corner.
That's what we were talking about that earlier, I believe, with Dawn from or Lurk, Dawn or Lurk or one of the others. They were saying that we were talking about that earlier when we were talking about graphics. So it's almost as if you're getting 2 graphics for the price of 1.
Yeah, I gotta just call out that graphics because I love when you're doing a thing. Like, you ever see one of these games, like a JRPG maybe, where they'll have 3D sprites, and then in the place of where a 2D sprite normally would go, there's like another 3D model that's moving in exact animation lockstep with the 3D model. Like the lip sync is the same. Do you know what have you ever seen this? You know what I'm talking about?
I have no clue what you're talking about, but it sounds like a perfect example of a 6 to 7 out of 10 situation.
You know, it really is. And I'm gonna give Geist a 6.5.
You're saying a 6.5. Well, keep that in mind because we are we do have one more feature to talk about, Catherine.
Oh, sure.
And I'm gonna actually let you go now to open up the phone line for other callers. But thank you for your call, Catherine. Stay. I'm
gonna be there. I'm gonna watch.
Yeah.
See you later.
Be here. Be there or be there. Keep your heart pure. Keep your thoughts honest, and remember that there are people that love you and are always thinking about you. Next up is, of course, I keep wanting to say penultimate, which I actually think is the second to last. So this is actually the last feature that we have to talk about, which is, of course, without knowing their hearts, do the people who made this game seem like good people? And this is the one feature, and this is new. This is breaking news. This just in breaking news that we are talking about this feature for Geist for the Nintendo GameCube on twitch.tv/EGI_2 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 5, which is a kind of a philosophical question as to whether or not the makers of Geist are good people. Caller, you're on there with with EGI2. What are your thoughts?
This is Sandwich from Portland.
Sandwich from Portland. Always glad to hear your voice. You're a little quiet in my ear.
I'll
there you go. There you are. Sandwich, what are your thoughts?
Hello? I mean, it's really hard to tell because there's a lot of artists that make really good art and then turn out to be really terrible people, but really present themselves well. And hide that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that we would be able to have that big of an insight into their hearts from Geist. But Geist doesn't seem overtly one way or the other, other than, being able to possess a semi-naked woman. I mean, if I had to give them like a general D&D sort of alignment, maybe they're lawful neutral.
Lawful neutral. So that's breaking news from Sandwich from Portland. Lawful neutral is the affinity given to the developers of Geist based on what we've learned thus far. Sandwich, I'm going to keep you on the line for a little bit longer because I want to read something out loud that I, when I was doing a bit of a deep dive in terms of research on Geist, that I uncovered this interview with the makers of Geist from the Nintendo World Report, and it goes a little bit. It does. I mean, it doesn't go like this. It is this. Does that?
Okay.
Okay. So the developers of Geist say this. It was very much a collaboration between us and Nintendo, and Nintendo's way of developing is different than most Western publishers or developers. They're very exploratory in the process, very experimental, and willing to try things and insist on trying things to kind of push the boundaries of what players have seen before, what new things they can bring to the table. With Geist, it's such a different game in so many ways that every time we'd learn a little bit more about what we were doing, we would learn new ways to do things with it. The project continually kind of blossoms, and everyone just kept feeling like it was worth it to put more time and energy into making it everything that it could be. Of course, there's always more ideas than there is time, so eventually we had to kind of tie a knot in it, package it up, and see how it does. So that to me is an interesting, which is an interesting quote because it shows a kind of a level of openness to outside ideas that, you know, this is a company that, again, we have to remember did not make a lot of its own. It had no original IP until Geist came along, Sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
And after Geist was, after Geist's ultimate failure, they were able to go back and continue to make games, and they rather than just making a lot of shovelware licensed games like they had been making previously, they went on to make first-person shooters for the Nintendo DS, which, you know, despite whatever you may feel about that particular genre, the fundamentals, I think, of those games, most of those first-person shooters that they developed were sound.
That's interesting. Yeah, I can see the heart in that statement. I can definitely see that they weren't necessarily just profit-minded with their decisions.
They had an interesting idea, and then they brought it to the people at Nintendo, who basically helped spin their idea into something a bit more, let's say, irreverent, which is a word that we used earlier in the show incorrectly, but I think now we can say with some fair confidence that there's a bit of a reverence in Geist, just based on the fact there's some innate comedy in the inhabiting pots and pans and boxes, inanimate objects, what have you.
Yeah, I'm definitely all for more wacky games. I think that's something that maybe a lot of developers overlook. Maybe they don't think that there's an audience out there for it. But something like Pal World, I think, says that there is an audience out there for it, and maybe we'll have more games like Geist.
The thing that Geist kind of feels to me, and you can take an issue with this, Sandwich, but Geist feels a little bit like having the same kind of the correct level of jank. And the correct level of jank versus the amount of risk taking that, say, something like the first Deadly Premonition game would have.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know what I haven't played Deadly Premonition.
Oh, you haven't played. Oh, sorry. Deadly Premonition, of course, is classic 6 to 7 out of 10 game that came out on the Xbox 360 and has been re-released in several forms. Because of a cult following that it had developed as a result of having a kind of a quality to it that a lot of people find. It captured something, it captured, I think, what we used to talk about a lot, which it had a lot of heart, and I do think that Geist has heart, Sandwich.
I agree. I see it. I'm also going to put Deadly Premonition on my list of games to.
A lot of people are saying hi, Robbie, in the chat. What is that? Why are they doing that?
Well, they just want your attention. They want you to, point it out. Hey, Robbie, and you say hi, chat, and it satisfies their need for approval.
For approval, but are they? But I've got Sandwich on the phone. I've got hi, Robbie, hi, Vague Plague, Jovial Jellyfish, Catherine in the Catherine Thundergloss, Putresimus, Too Pure Sandwich. How high are you, Robbie? Not high at all. I don't do any funny stuff. People are saying 8 for Geist. Sandwich, what do you think about that?
I think 8 for Geist sounds good.
Ooh, tell Robbie I'm texting him. Allan Resnick says he's texting me right now. What the hell's going on? Allan says This just in breaking news. Allan is texting me. Oh, he's in the video room. Give me one moment. Sandwich, can you do me a quick favor, which of course is to just talk from the heart right now while I get Allan loaded up onto the thing. This is breaking news. Allan Resnick is in the video room, and will be joining us shortly, right after these special lyrics, after Sandwich takes it away. Take it away, Sandwich.
Back to you, Sandwich. Right now we're watching Geist. What to see? Okay, so I was about to say footage, but I was also about to say gameplay. It wasn't going to be the right word that was going to come out of my mouth, so I'm not going to say that. So what's happening right now with Geist is you are the main character, and instead of that, I'm going to talk about how I was supposed to do my laundry, but I accidentally put too much laundry detergent in there. I thought I didn't put laundry detergent in there, but I did, and so it keeps flooding up, and I ran it like 3 times, but there's still floods, and I'm afraid that it's not going to be clean, and I'm not going to have a blanket to sleep on, so I might just have to sleep on sheets tonight. So back to Geist.
And back to you, Sandwich, and thank you so much, so much for. Thank you for your thoughts and your incredible insight into the Geist, into the fundamentals of, not necessarily the fundamentals of Geist, but just I would say some of the paranormal or metaphysical aspects of Geist here live on twitch.tv/EGI_2.
Yeah, thank you. Back to you, Robbie.
Back to you, Sandwich, and hope to talk to you again soon. And right now, let's go to, and let's hope that this works, but let's go to Allan Resnick live here on twitch.tv/EGI_2. Allan, are you there? Oh, goodness gracious. 1 second.
Robbie?
Just start talking, Al.
If I'm there, I can't hear you, Robbie. You have to put yourself in the room. Robbie.
Allan, I'm in the room. Are you in the room?
I'm thinking of you.
I'm thinking of you too, Allan, and I'm seeing you. Can you hear me?
Even though I can't hear you or see you, I'm thinking of you. Okay, I hear the phone ring, but I don't know how to answer the phone. Where's the phone? Where are you calling me?
I'm not calling you. That's caller. Are you on the air with EGI2?
Hello. This is Tony. I was a fan of you back when you were on Adult Swim.
I tried.
Tony, it's nice to see you. Nice to hear from you. But we're trying to contact Allan Resnick. Can you hold on the line right now while we try to figure out the sound?
Hours, even though I can't hear you or see you. This is labor I'm putting in. I'm working for you, and I'm thinking of you, and I'm just happy to see you thriving like this. And I'm curious about Geist, so I'll take my call off the air. But thank you for Oh, why is your light on your head red?
Oh, it's white. It's white now,
Al. Robbie.
Allan, you really can't hear. You really can't
figure out how to do
give me what.
This happens every time.
Oh, there it is again. How about now?
I hear you.
I hear you, Allan. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Robbie.
I can hear you.
And Allan, can you hear Tony?
No, I can't hear Tony. I've never been able to hear Tony.
So I'll have to act as a kind of a pass-through between Allan and Tony if Tony does want to say anything to Allan. But Tony is a fan of the show. He's been watching the show. He wants to talk about Geist. Allan, let's hear what you have to say about Geist.
I think Geist is
it's not as good as Power World, but it's pretty okay.
From the past that people love and enjoy, and I think people are finally now revisiting. It's getting the credit it does deserve. Geist, I'm speaking specifically about the game Geist. which I know about, and it's such a good game. I think it's about a 6 or 7 out of 10 kind of a game. I would give it about a closer to 7 because it's so good.
It's
a wonderful game. So back to you, Tony.
Back to you, Tony. Tony, what are your thoughts about what Allan just said about Geist?
I mean, like, Alan's smart, but I don't think he's like I don't think he knows everything about video games, you know?
And this is true, but he's eager to learn, and he's eager to listen, and he's got a big heart, and so we do trust that Allan has the best interest of twitch.tv/EGI_2 and the 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews. But Tony, if you have something to say to Allan about Geist, say it now or forever hold your peace.
All right, Allan, do your homework. I think you're doing a good job. Just keep at it.
What does he say?
He say, Allan, do your homework, but you're still doing a good job, and just keep at it.
Thank you so much, Tony. That is so sweet.
That's it. Tony, Allan says that's sweet.
All right, well,
I appreciate that, Tony.
I love your stuff.
I love your stuff too, Tony. Call again anytime. But we are running out of time for the stream, so we do want to get a last word from Allan before we reveal our score for Geist here on the stream. We're shutting down the phone lines for the evening because we do have Allan in the room, and we want to make sure that he gets to have his final say in this whole scenario that we've created for ourselves. Allan, what are your thoughts? 6 to 7 out of 10?
I think a 6 or 7 would be appropriate for this, or a 6 or 7 out of 10 specifically. I'm speaking about just like on a scale from 1 to 10, a 6 or 7. And I'm just excited to hear, to think about Geist. I think, tonight, I think when I go to bed and I close my eyes, I'll be thinking about the game Geist.
Right, because you'll be worried that there could be a Geist like secret agent in your apartment that could be that might say rattle your phone charger or push something off the bookshelf, and then it scares you, and then you become the Geist. Or the Geist gets in you and then makes you do things that you don't want to do and spend money that you don't have.
Yeah, that's quite a chilling thought indeed. This idea of this sort of Geist, the Geist idea, the Geist, thinking about the Geist, it's kind of freaking me out. So I will be up all night worrying about that.
So let's see in the chat if you've got let's hear it. Where do we stand on the score for Geist? We've gone as high as 8 out of 10, and for some people, and we've gone but I don't think that we've gone below 6.
So that's pretty. People like Geist, I guess.
People love Geist. They're thinking about Geist. Putris Simus is 7.9, 6 to 7 out of 10, 7.2. Goodness gracious, people are making this a lot much more difficult. Joe Botnick says a 6.4, 6.6 from Arachnophobia Kid. Allan, are you writing all these numbers down? Because they're coming, the numbers are
6.4. Oh, Dingus Van says 9. Jovial Jellyfish says 6.2 to 6.4. That's quite high. Hambone Boosie says 6.5.
So let's make sure that we're getting let's make sure that we are getting a little bit of a
Robbie, what is that?
What is what?
There's something behind you. Oh, I don't know. Never mind.
It was
glitch.
Right. So there might have been a coyote on the roof earlier, but we never were able to figure out what happened there.
Is that a Geist?
So 6. So we're seeing. Okay, let's tell you what here. Let's take the mean here. Oh my God. Somebody said 9. Lord Tony Prine said 9 out of 10, but compared to Pal World, a 6 out of 10. So if we're using the Pal World as a kind of as the tip of the, what is that? What is it? What is it when you've got the high point and the low point? Wait, So let's say 9. Okay, let's do a little bit of math here. So the lowest score that I've seen is 6.1. And the highest score I've seen is...
Are you looking to find the average score?
Yeah.
I'd like to put I would like to put in a score of 6.5.
6.5, okay. Well, I don't think I may have missed a few scores here, but I think that we're going to be all pretty surprised by the by the number here tonight. It's that's not wait. No, it's not 6.2. No, sorry. My keyboard's broken, Alan.
Does it say PS2?
Okay, there it
Out of
is.
5 out of 10. RS4 out of 10.
That's pretty.
Seven.
So that's
Why
a
there-
that's the highest. That's the highest score that we've ever gotten here on.
7.R54 out of 10.
Well, I can't. Several buttons on my keyboard are broken, Alan. So that's the score that we were able to actually get out of the keyboard here live here tonight on twitch.tv/EDI_2. Breaking news here.
Wow.
Wait, which one is that? Goodness gracious. Jeez whiz. Alan, what are your thoughts?
I think it's just exciting to see all these graphics on screen, and I feel like I saw a Geist or some sort of aberration behind you, which was quite jarring. I'm just excited I get to watch EGI 2, even on the days where I'm not even on EGI 2.
Pierogi University has subscribed to second tier 1 sub for 2 months. Thank you for Pierogi University.
Is that a new sponsor?
No, that's apparently it's a school for the people that made pierogies. I guess Polish people.
Okay.
Alan, I'm running out of steam here a little bit. Moby 190 is also has. Oh wait, this is all old stuff.
Maybe you can stop.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. But I can't do. Okay, so that was twitch.tv/EGI. Okay, hey, Scott from the pit. Let's take one last call. Scott from the pit. It's good to hear your voice. What are your thoughts?
Well, back to you, Robbie, and back to you, Alan. It is your old pal, friend of the show, friend of the chat. It is Scott from the pit. How are you, Alan?
Alan, how are you? Says Scott.
Tell Scott that I'm okay, but I can't hear Scott.
And back to you, I do have breaking news.
Breaking news from Scott from the pit.
As you know, and as you know, Alan, I'm not very tech
Robbie,
savvy, but tonight,
yes,
tonight there has been a breakthrough. I'm breaking all barriers. Minds have been blown. I've been so tech savvy tonight. I don't even know what to do with myself. But if you could believe it or not, I am streaming EGI2 on Twitch on my TV. I am on my phone. And I'm on my iPad. I am actually simultaneo's streaming the Luke show. I am calling both shows, talking to both. I actually video chatted Luke Man's show, and showed if you could imagine and just close your eyes and picture. I held the iPad streaming his show up to you and Allan streaming your show all at once, and I feel so tech savvy, and I have you and Allan to thank for showing me how to do these wonderful things. I made a Discord today, Robbie.
Allan, thank you for that, Scott. I'm gonna tell Allan everything you just said, but we do have to start wrapping the show up now. Allan, Scott for the pit said that he's very tech savvy now, and that he called into Luke's show and our show at the same time, but was also streaming his show on a video chat when he called the Luke show. So when he called the Luke show, it was showing our show, my show, the show.
So Scott was saying that Scott was talking to Luke?
So if final thoughts here, because my final thought is that in some ways, Scott was showing the same level of ingenuity, risk-taking, and entrepreneurial spirit that the people at N-Space, the people who made Geist, showed when they made Geist.
You're so good at tying loose threads together and making a narrative, a cohesive narrative from so many disparate elements. And in your ability to bring this all back around to Geist.
So back to you, Allan, and back to you, chat, and everybody who's tuned in to watch us review. Watch. Don't. I hit the call button, but don't call anymore. We're about to shut down the show. About to stop the stream. Don't forget to raid. We're gonna raid Luke in just a moment. But first off, I want to thank everybody for sticking with us, even though that the keyboard problem was an issue. So I wasn't able to be as active in typing words into the chat. But hopefully we'll get the keyboard situation sorted out. And next week we will be doing, of course, EGI 2 stream 11. Which of course is the cousins stream. So bring your cousins to watch the stream, and we're going to try to bring our cousins to watch the stream, as well as bringing you the breaking news, reviews, culture, and conversation that you expect from EGI 2.
I gotta go. I'm gonna call my cousin right after this and tell them to watch and to come on and visit EGI 2 on Monday.
And then following that on Wednesday, we as a kind of a sup. Is it a sup? People requested that we review 2 games on the next stream, and I'm going to say that this breaking news, we are going to be reviewing 2 games on EGI 2's 6 to 7 out of 10 game reviews 6, and those 2 games are to be announced soon, but will not be announced. Will not be announced tonight because we don't know. It takes a lot of thought, Allan, to figure out what 6 to 7 out of 10 games to review on here.
Yes, I just thinking about a lot of the old kind of cruddy games you like. It does give me a headache sometimes. So just when you talk about them, just the amount of thought that I have to put in, mental energy I have to put in trying to understand what you're saying when you talk about these kind of 6 to 7 out of 10 Robbie games, I do get like a pretty sharp headache right there, and it doesn't go away.
So it doesn't go away. The pain stays with you the whole life, and when you and in some ways that the pain goes with you when you die.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't actually raid Luke tonight because the button.
I can do it.
Okay, so we're gonna raid Luke in just a moment. So say everyone say hi to Luke for us, and we'll sorry that the end of the show is we didn't have a good ending, but we'll do better next time. Bye.